welcome back to Mornings Don't Have to Suck, your go-to AM motivation and mindset podcast to start your day without the dread. In the short time we have together today, you might just learn something new about yourself and how to approach your day from a new and clever perspective. I am Kaylin, your host, founder of Live Your Clever Life Coaching, and as usual, we will waste no time and we will get right to it today. So, my topic for us today is something you probably think about kind of often and something you probably experience fairly often, but you don't have a reason or anything to tie it to. So it can weigh on you a lot and can make you question who you are, where you're at, your progress, all that good stuff. So we're going to tie it to something today and we're going to make it make sense for wherever you are in life. So what that thing is what you should think and how you should react when your body shocks you. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say you're at a public event, a concert or a basketball game or something, and you look up and you see something or someone that reminds you of something of your past. Oftentimes, when that happens, we have a physical response. And that physical response can lead to us questioning everything that we feel, because why would we have a physical response if we feel X, Y, or Z? So we're going to talk about that today, because I don't think we realize how much our past traumas, people from our past scenarios, we don't realize how often they can trigger us, even way after the fact, right? And sometimes it's too late and then you're experiencing it in lifetime and you're like, what's happening? Am I out of touch with how I actually feel? Why am I feeling this physically when I feel something else mentally? There's a lot of things that can happen in our bodies, in our brains, all that good stuff that can convince us that we are not safe, or that can convince us that we're not as far along as we are. So we're going to talk about that, because there is a mind and body connection that we all have. Some of us know it a lot better. Some of us have a stronger control over it. And some of us don't realize the connection and the strength that it has over us sometimes without us really being involved. So I'm going to give you an example. And I know that 9 times out of 10, if you're listening to this, you have experienced this, because it's a very normal human thing to happen, especially if you went to any sort of school in the middle school era. This is something you've probably felt. And if any of my friends from my hometown are listening to this, they're going to laugh, because they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But thinking way back to your childhood, your middle school era, maybe it's high school for you, whatever, where you had just the biggest crush on someone and they came up to you out of the blue and started talking to you. I want you to picture and experience what that felt like physically. And the reason I say that is because all of a sudden your brain goes blank, your stomach has a burning fire in it, you don't really know what's happening, but you have to stay focused on the person who's speaking to you, or else you're going to look like a fool, or you're going to look crazy. And I want you to really sit in that feeling. If this happened, or if you imagine it happening to you, that physical feeling that comes along with it, I want you to feel it. And I want you to think about it for a second, because that's what we're going to focus on today. And the reason we're focusing on that today is because that physical feeling can be a complete lie to you. Why? Because it all started up here. Now, we're going to talk about why, because the example I just gave is perfect. If you had a random crush on somebody who doesn't know you or doesn't know that you have a crush on them, you are probably going to act a little bit more wild and anxious and nervous around them than if that wasn't the case. So think about times you've adjusted your responses, adjusted your demeanor, adjusted who you were because of X, Y, Z, right? And think about that from looking at your past perspective, and then thinking about when you think about that thing or that person and how it makes you feel today. Pause, think about that. The reason behind that is because I want us to all focus on the identity, or part of our identity, or part of our being that we've created for ourselves based on those physical responses. Has she blown your mind? I don't know. Hopefully. And I want you to really, really think about this, because how many times have you been walking down the street and you turn a corner to avoid someone, Or you look across the street and you see someone who you're like, oh no, if they see me, I have to do X, Y, Z, or oh no, I'm too embarrassed, or oh no, they make me nervous, whatever it may be. And you turn away or you avoid running into them. Or you find yourself not going to the gym at the same time because you're nervous you'll run into this person, or whatever it is, right? We truly do not realize how much of an impact that these types of memories, traumas, physical responses that we have impact our day to day, right? I know I keep saying impact, but like it's real and it's embarrassing sometimes when we realize how much control we're giving to scenarios that don't necessarily exist. And then on top of that, how much control we're giving to past versions of ourselves and to past things that would have derailed you. But today, absolutely not. They would not. But somehow you're letting them. Think about it. On top of that, whatever that is for you, like whatever that trauma or that reminder is, it's going to look different on everyone. So I don't want you to be like, oh, I don't know what she's talking about. You could probably apply this thought, this process to something in your life and realize how it's impacted your daily decisions, even years after you've healed. And the reason I say that is I really, really want to hone in on the fact that you can heal from someone or something and still feel that physical response today. So let's say something happened 15, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, and you have since healed, right? If you still feel the physical response, it doesn't mean you're not healed. Okay? I really want to focus in on that. I didn't understand that for a couple years. And so I thought I was constantly going back and reliving the same things that I thought I was over when I was like, wait a second. Now me is fine. So why am I going back to that thought process of past me? Right? So remember that. All of those feelings, those triggers, those pangs in your stomach really mean is that you once cared for something or someone or something that meant a lot to you that is no longer relevant today. Okay? That's all that means. It doesn't mean that you still love them. It doesn't mean that you're striving for that thing or that you want that thing still. It just means that you did it one time and your body is remembering that and bringing that physical response, regardless of what's happening up here. So take those moments as symbols or indicators of you having a life before your existence right now. Sound good? Sound pretty simple, right? The feelings that you feel or you're triggered now or whatever it may be, it's because you lived a life before the person that you are now. And I think we like to instead transport us back to the past rather than being like, oh no, that was a life I lived. Those are things I experienced, and that's okay. Also thinking of that in terms of the version of the you that you are today, and realizing that today you will be with you in the present time. And regardless of how many more days you live, you will always have a past version of yourself. And you must embrace them. And you must truly own that. And once you do that, it makes total sense that you still feel certain things when you see someone or you think of someone or you hear something or you hear whatever, right? It makes sense. So you have to, if you are doing this, not everybody's doing this or consciously aware that they're doing this, but if you are shaming yourself or holding yourself back because you're still experiencing these types of feelings, whatever it may be, know that that is very normal. And it just means you had a life before now. It does not discount the growth that you've had since then. And it does not change the healing that you've done in progress of getting to where you are today. And the reason I point that out is I say this a lot of times in my spin class, or I take the opportunity to say it as much as I can, especially after I ask people to do crazy hard things or mean things where you add a lot of gear and then you run or whatever it may be. But I often say, do not carry the feeling of that last push with you. We are done with it. You do not have to carry it into the next one. And I think when we start making the active choice of what we do and do not carry, we realize how much control we have. We realize, oh, I was electing to feel that bad feeling. I was electing to focus on that negative thing. I was electing to let that pang in my stomach tell me that I have not grown at all since the last time I felt that, or whatever it may be. Think about it. If you've been listening to me at all, you understand that I always try to give you a little bit of a perspective to take into your day, because We are not much without perspective. We get very narrowed in, blinders on, focused. And sometimes that's not the best way. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves that there's a world around us. There's a sky above us. There's water out there. There's a ground to touch. There's so many more things that we can do besides getting obsessed in the things that have happened to us. So I'm going to leave that for us today. I want you to really think about that. And maybe you might have something like this happen today, this week, this month, where you see something that reminds you of someone or something, or Instagram tries to force profiles on you that you're like, well, please don't. That was years ago. I don't want to relive that. Whatever it may be, acknowledge the feeling and move on, because as I always say, feelings are not facts. They are just feelings, and you can continue on the path that you were on without getting yourself all riled up or reverting to a past version of yourself or derailing your current progress just because you feel a feeling, right? So have a wonderful day as usual. Take care of yourselves this week. Please note that in the coming weeks, I will be heading out of the country for 2 weeks. I'm probably still going to post a couple of episodes, but I do not know if I can do a whole 10 episodes while I'm gone, but I will do a little bit of something. So stay tuned. Make sure your reminders are on. Make sure you are subscribed on either Spotify or YouTube, and I will see you back here soon. Make sure you spread a little love, spread a little light, and take care of yourselves. Drink your water, and I will see you back here next episode.